And thank you all of you for your candid responses. It sounds like we're going to be working on some integration. It sounds like some of you need help with going fully digital, if that's something that you're interested in doing, and just, shedding that two-step process, which can be susceptible to some potholes, right? I mean, if you forget, you forget. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen soon. First, let's recap why we're here. So the purpose of today's workshop is to get more familiar with Google Calendar. And Google Calendar is a powerful free service that you can use to organize your schedule, coordinate events. You can also coordinate events with others, which is amazing. So we've heard other people talk about, or some of you talk about, how you can possibly share calendars. We will definitely be talking about that feature, because as all of us have busy lives, from our kids to the adults in our lives and just the folks that we work with on a daily basis, it is really helpful when calendars can be visible and therefore shared. So it also has many useful features. We've talked about sharing, but we can also switch what's easily being displayed. You can also access your calendar from any mobile device, which is amazing. So remember, this is a Google product. So wherever you can access your Google tools, your Gmail, your Drive, that is where you're going to be able to download Calendar. And it's just an app. Like everything else nowadays, it's just an app. So there's really nothing special that goes on that you need to do, to make it happen. In other words, nothing that you have to pay for or anything like that. So I'm going to take you into signing in from the beginning. I want to make sure that you all are versed in how you get into Calendar, because I think it's super important. There are a few different ways to do it. So let's look at that first. So I'm sharing my screen with you all right now, and you're actually looking at one of my calendars. Yes, you heard me correctly, one of my calendars. I have a few of them, and they are all tied to some sort of Gmail address, but they also serve different purposes. So I have my company's website, which is also driven by Google Workspace, and that has its own domain and tools associated with Google Workspace, including its own calendar. And then I have two other email addresses that I use for shopping, just one for shopping, and the other one for everything else, including like medical stuff. And then I'll have another email address that's associated with my author profile. So it's really great to be able to set up all of these different personas in Google, because that way I can have separate calendars, but I can also still have all those separate calendars in one view, which is really important. Now, what you see here is this week. And what I want you to pay attention to is this little guy right up here. Well, this little girl, actually, because that's me. And so that's how I know that I'm signed into my Google Calendar, and under what identity. So this is my profile. I'm signed into my TPF Gmail. And so I know that this is my TPF calendar. But I also know that it's my TPF calendar because everything is color-coded in blue. So the habit that I have is that I regularly color code all of my events with colors that are related to the organization, or maybe even the person, right? So for example, let me stop sharing real quick so you can see what this looks like in the wild. So here is actually a really good example. So this is a view of my calendar, my Google Calendar on my phone. And it doesn't look like, there you go. Okay, it's picking it up now. All right, so I got to put it in front of me. I got to trick my camera. Okay, so as you can see, I got my TPF stuff in blue, my company stuff in gray, my personal stuff in orange, and other things related to other personas in green and purple. So as soon as I glance at this and somebody says, hey, Maribel, are you free from 3 to 4? I know what's happening just based on the color that I'm looking at. And so I know if I have flexibility, maybe to start 15 minutes early, 15 minutes later, but I know what's coming up. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about today. Let's look at the actual calendar again and start getting comfortable with the types of functionality that you're going to see on your Google Calendar. All right, so how did we sign in? We signed in because we signed into our Gmail account. So if you have your TPF Gmail account, you know that you can sign in through your Gmail, but you can also sign in through Google. right? So if you just go to a regular Google, of course I didn't do that right. If you go into just regular Google, remember Google is all just the big domain, it's the umbrella. And if I go up to the waffle, this is either the waffle or the checkerboard, depending on what you prefer. But if you click on the waffle, you're going to get access to all of your Google tools. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. And this is on your desktop, obviously. Remember that on your iPad and on your phone, it's all app-based. So all of these little icons that you see here, especially the one for calendar, that's what it's going to look like when you download it on your iPad and your phone. But on your desktop, you're going to see everything. So it's a little bit of a different experience. That's why we asked you to join on a desktop today, or a laptop computer. It just makes it so much easier. But a few different ways to sign in. First, you can sign in through your regular Google, or you can sign in through your Gmail and then go here and select calendar, or I can also click here if I have this right task pane enabled, and that will take me to my calendar in the short view. And then I can also, if I open it here, pop it out, and then it shows me the long view. So there's that, a few different ways to log into calendar. Anybody have any questions about signing in, or did anybody have any issues signing in today? Just speak up. Okay. Now, look at my left-hand menu. So in my left-hand menu over here, I have access to other calendars. Right now, they're not being shown, but if I click on these calendars, automatically, because I've set up permissions from one calendar to another, and we're not going to cover that today, that's more of an advanced feature, but you can import other people's calendars. So I could import TPF's calendar if I want to. I can import Lindsay's calendar if she shares it with me, et cetera, et cetera. All I have to do is click it. So there are other events, right, that are happening in my life, and they pop up as soon as I select and deselect, which is kind of cool. But if I want to keep it streamlined and I only want to see TPF's happenings, my meetings scheduled on this particular view, then I'm only going to have that calendar selected over here under my calendars. And you'll notice that it distinguishes between my calendars and other calendars, meaning these are the ones that don't belong to this account, but they've been shared with you anyway. All right, so that is other calendars. Let's click on the search bar and check out some settings. If I click on the search bar up here with the magnifying glass, and it's pretty generic, the magnifying glass is pretty much for everything. I can start typing in keywords, maybe even some names. So I'm going to type Kiara Lewis because Kiara and I interface pretty often. And so every instance that Kiara is either mentioned directly, that means that she sent the invitation or she's been added to a calendar invitation, is going to come up in this search bar. I can also type in the name of an event. So for example, if it has to do with tech, this is everything that's coming up with the word tech in it. Now, this is only showing me future events. The past events, go back to Kiera, the past events are going to be grayed out to let me know that they've already happened. So that's kind of a neat little subtlety that they show you so that you can see the difference between current events and past events. So that's the search feature. Can you do this on your mobile and your iPad or your tablet? Absolutely. All the same features are already there. The next thing we're going to look at is the settings, the day of the week, the month, and the schedule. All right. So in this view, I'm going to close out the search feature. So in this view, I've selected the whole week because that's what I prefer. I can also choose to start my day of the week on Monday. But if I go up here to the square where it says week and I drop down on this menu, I have some options. And you can see here that the weekends are shown. But if I only want, this is a work calendar, I can only show Monday through Friday if I want to, if that makes sense for me. I don't, but it is an option for you. You can also show declined events, those grayed out events. So for example, if somebody invites you to a meeting, but you decline it, it'll show out as a strike through or grayed out on your calendar, but it's still going to keep it on your calendar if you have this checked off, which is kind of handy because maybe you decide to join at the last minute, you still have access to the invitation. Maybe you thought you weren't going to be able to go, but if you still see it there, you can still join, even though you've declined it. And depending on other things like, the taskbar over here, and it will show you an appointment schedule too. I'll show you that in a second. The other features are things like the day. So today is Wednesday, and this is my only TPF related meeting today. So it focuses on today because I've selected the day. And then there's also the month-long feature, which gives me at a glance the full month of what is now February. Who knew that that was possible? I feel like it was New Year's the other day, but ergo, here we are. And then, of course, the year-long view, which is a little overwhelming to me. I prefer the week view, Monday through Sunday for all 7 work days. And that kind of helps me see at a glance what's happening there. And by the way, you can, I don't think we're going to cover this in this class, but you also have the option here on this side to add other time zones, which is really helpful for me because I work with clients in other time zones, especially in Mountain, Central Time, and even West Coast and Hawaii time. So it's really helpful for me to add right here, so I don't have to sit here and like count backwards all the time, find out what time zone these folks are in. It'll automatically show me right there. Okay, I've got the settings, the day of the week, and the month view. I also want to look at creating a new event. Any questions before we get into actually setting up a new event? Just anything that we've covered so far. And just go ahead and speak out because I'm actually juggling a few screens, so I'm not really looking at your faces right now. Anyone? Going once, going twice. Okay, let's create a new event. And it's really great that TPF has a naming convention for Gmails because then I can add you all into my calendar event. So I'm going to go ahead and create an event for today at 5 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and just tap on the time block that I want to create it in, which is right here. I can also choose to use the create button up here as well, which includes the plus sign in Google's colors. And this gives me a little more flexibility because it lets me choose whether I'm creating an event or a task or an appointment schedule. So let me explain the difference real quick. An event is like today's meeting, right? So you see it here in my calendar. It's a one-time thing. It's got some parameters like maybe a location and other details. A task is really just that. So if I click on a task, it's going to sort of act like a reminder of sorts. And it's going to list it up here at the very top. It's not going to associate it with a time unless I give it a time. It's also going to carry over until I get it done. So unless I check it off that it's done, once the task is already in my calendar, it's going to keep carrying it over until I mark it finished. So kind of helpful, a feature for those of you who may procrastinate. For others, it may just be purely annoying, but it's there for your use. And I rarely use appointment schedule, to be honest with you. It's new. And I really haven't had a chance to dig into it. I think there was a precursor to this and I also didn't use it. I really just stick to events and tasks. So we're not going to explore the functionalities of this just yet. I think we should be living over here for now. So let's create this event. I'm going to create the events, and remember that the dialog box, as you saw just a few seconds ago, right, it basically looks the same. It is the same actually, as when I clicked right over here at the 5 o'clock slot. All right. So today is Wednesday, January 31st. I want the event to start at 5 o'clock. And by default, it's going to give you an hour allotment. You can also shrink that. It could be a 15-minute meeting, 5:30, 5:45. I can also give it a custom time. So for example, if I want this meeting to end at 6:10, I can do that by just stopping my cursor right there and hitting backspace and entering the actual time that it's going to be over. Here's my opportunity to pick the time zone. By default, when you set up your account, it's going to take into consideration that you are in the Eastern time zone. But if you want to change it for whatever reason, then it gives you flexibility to do that. One note about time zones that I find really interesting. So if you have events already set up, and you probably will, hopefully after this class, you'll really get into keeping a digital calendar. And you travel to, I don't know, the Central, Mountain, West Coast time zone, doesn't matter, Pacific. Your calendar will adapt with you wherever you go. So when you sign in, your calendar appointment times will adapt. So for example, if this appointment that we're setting for ourselves right now starts at 5 o'clock today, and I happen to catch a plane between now and then, and I find myself, in the mountains of, I don't know, Oklahoma. Does Oklahoma have mountains? Tennessee, I know they have mountains. So if I happen to find myself in the mountains of Tennessee, then it will automatically adapt and change it to the central time zone, which is really cool. So something to keep in mind, you don't need to make this election now because you're making the appointment right here, right now, but it will change with you if you happen to change locations later, which is really nice. And you're always going to be able to enter the meeting when you're supposed to enter the meeting, which is nice. So our appointment is from 5 to 6:10. It is not going to repeat. And I'm going to start adding guests over here, which is going to be all of you, and you'll be able to add it to your calendars. And you'll be able to see what that looks like in just a second. Let's give this a title. Let's call this a post-class hang. Okay. We're going to hang out and we're going to ask questions and we're going to geek out over Google Calendar after class is over. Let's start adding some guests. So we've got, I need to know some last names. I know Kiera is there. And I know that Carolina is Franco. And we have Eileen. Let's see. We've got Elsie and Meryl. And by the way, I am going off memory at this point, which, as former teachers know, after 3 o'clock, you just can't form coherent sentences. So please let me know who I'm missing. Just give me the first 3 letters of your name so it can pop up here.
We have Tina, Maribel.
Who do I have?
Tina.
Yeah. Tina Duval. There it is. Thank you. And
Karen.
Lindsay?
Yeah. Lindsay Smith.
Yep. Who else?
Kara Picker, Picker. Yep.
Kara. Yep.
And Karen Miley.
And Karen is K-E? No, C.
C-A.
C-A. Oh, Miley. C. Myers? Yes. No. C. Miley. Got it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that all the Hollywood squares? Let's see. Oh, the Hollywood squares.
You got us all, ma'am.
I got us all. Okay. All right. So y'all are about to be invited to our post-class hang, which is really cool. Notice that it automatically picked up your emails. That's either because we've emailed back and forth before, or because it's shared in, and the AI is really smart that way. I love how the image pops up, so I know I have the right person, which is really cool. And then of course you get other details here, like you can actually see the email written out. You can add this person to your contacts, which is kind of neat. Or you can schedule an event, another individual event with this person. So lots of functionalities that you could explore here also. But we're all listed here. We're going to hang today from January 31st from 5 to 6:10 p.m. It's going to be an event. And where are we meeting? All right. So because I run my company on Google, I'm just going to say it's Google Meet because it's free. And if you didn't know that, yes, I'm saying that again. Zoom is a paid service. I think you get up to 30 minutes or 40 minutes free. But if you need to have longer meetings, you can certainly use Google Meet conferencing, which actually works pretty darn good. It will give you a free group call up to an hour, which means that our meeting is not going to be covered. So let me adjust it to 6 p.m. so Google Meet doesn't freak out. And I'm not going to add any location details because this is virtual and I don't have any descriptions to add. But if I did, I could also add some attachments here, which is really cool. So if there's a document I want you all to see for this meeting, then I'm going to go ahead and include it here. I can either write the URL or attach it. Lots of functionalities for you to explore. And then since I'm the organizer, you'll see that it's coming from my calendar, which is of course the cerulean blue. It'll show up as cerulean blue on my side. It will not show up as cerulean blue on your side, I believe. Let's take a look at how that looks on your end. So get ready to receive that calendar information. That invite just went out. You can see that it's already been posted on my calendar. And then what I'm going to do is open it, because as you all start to see it and accept it, you see the little check mark that comes up here. That tells me who's accepting the invitation, which is cool. And that way, if I don't see your name checked off, and by the way, in the wild, in the real world, a lot of people don't accept invitations. And truth be told, in secret, between me and you all, it kind of irritates me when people don't do that, because then I don't know if you're coming to the meeting. So just as a matter of course, I like to make sure that I accept all of my meeting invites. So let me wait a second for those to pop up in your email.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah.
I downloaded the Google app because I didn't have the Google app for the calendar. So it like literally popped up instantly, and I was able just to hit accept through the app. So that was really cool.
Nice.
So thank you for teaching me that.
Hey, I didn't really do it, but okay.
You did. I would have never downloaded the Google Calendar app if it weren't for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's good stuff. Honestly, I have been living in Google World since 2007. And I officially broke up with Microsoft ages ago once they started charging additional fees for their Microsoft Word program. I don't advocate it in my digital inclusion work because there's a fee associated with all these subscriptions. And since I primarily work with low to moderate income families, I just can't do it. It's just in good conscience, I can't do it. So I do recommend Google Tools to everyone, just because I really think that they have an amazing selection of productivity software that basically, I don't know that you even need anything else at this point, not even for your personal or anything else. Is anyone not seeing their calendar invitation? Let me close out anything I don't need. Anyone not finding their calendar invites? Let's see who has. All right. Everyone except Miss Miley. We're waiting for your acceptance.
Okay, I unclicked it. I clicked it on my phone, but it didn't go through. So I guess I have to actually click it on my computer. Or I'll go get Kara Picker to help me in the next room.
Don't be afraid. Click it. You won't break it. I promise. That really is part of all of this, right? It's being unafraid to do these things. Remember to make undo. The undo button is your friend. What can happen, right? You just undo it.
So it's now it's not showing up on my phone anymore because I hit yes. And so I don't see it as an option on my phone.
It will refresh. It should refresh when you log in. Yeah. So it does take a minute. Perfect example. I haven't used my iPad in a little bit. I used it earlier for a meeting. And so as I was already using the machine, it took about 3 to 5 minutes for it to go, oh, there are some updates I need to keep track of. Let's go ahead and update these, iMessage conversations and these calendar invites and all of that. So it'll take a minute, but it should automatically do it if you're signed in. So yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. All right, so you saw how we have a post-class hang. Now I'm going to show you that I'm going to close this invitation. In other words, I'm going to say, no, change my mind. Don't want to meet with you all. See how it's really cool? It's, I know that I've declined it, but at the same time, it's still here. So if I change my mind, I can still go in and make it an option. If I want to remove it from my calendar entirely, I can just click on the delete event button, which is the trash can right here, and it will be gone. You'll also have the option to send a decline or declination message or a cancellation message to your invitees or your guests. So I'll say, unable to meet today. We will reschedule. Schedule. All right. And then I will send that, you all will see that cancellation notice. And at that point is when it disappears from my calendar. While you're taking note of those effects, I want to show you how you can end up sharing your whole calendar. Now, please beware that when you share your calendar with someone, that means you are sharing your calendar. So that means that depending on what calendars you're importing and viewing, then that person may end up with privileges that you just honestly may not want them to have. So it really is up to you to decide what levels of permissions folks are going to be able to see. We'll find those in the gear. So if you click on the gear, let me go back to that. It's up here. If you click on the gear and you click on settings, you'll see that you have the option to find settings for other calendars once you have them, which are here. And then I can also add a calendar. And I can also import or export a calendar. So if I want to add a calendar, I can either subscribe to an existing calendar. So for example, sometimes organizations will publish their events calendar. And if they do that with a URL, you know, the address bar at the top, and it has its own URL, you can actually add it right from a URL. We're not going to go too deep into this because it's not part of what we're covering today, but I wanted you to see this. And I can also, which is here from the URL, and I can also subscribe to somebody else's calendar. So there's that. You do have a lot of flexibility. I would say that the one thing that I want you to be aware of is the sharing feature, right? And so, And so I want you to be aware of whether or not other people are going to be able to see what you're doing, adding, deleting. You're also giving people the right to change things on your calendar or change events. So it really is an important feature that you really need to pay attention to. For those of you, it sounds like most of you are really just getting started or potentially just getting started with this. So I wouldn't play around with that too much. And if you really do want to play around with it, definitely send me an email. We can talk about it and I'll walk you through it, or I can send you some resources on how to do it. But for now, just remember, just use caution when sharing your calendar and choose what others can access. And that goes for your Google Drive, your Google Docs. The share feature in Google is amazing. It's super collaborative. It's great for cross-functional teams, but at the same time, allowing full access, you know, with that level of permission to your calendar, people can respond to invitations, people can create and edit your events and share your calendar with other people. So it kind of just, you know, sort of multiplies. And you can also receive emails about changes to your calendar, which you probably will make you feel a little out of control. So just think about that, and definitely steer away from it. I think we're at the early stages now. So let's stick to that part. We can try to add an external calendar from another source, and we can also try syncing calendars. And it sounded like to me, based on the responses that we got about the paper calendars and how you all use your calendars now, whether it's paper or digital or both, it sounds like the rest of our time would be better spent thinking about how to sync our calendars. So let's do that. And the way that you do that is by simply signing in to your calendar on your device. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I want you to grab whatever device it is that you are trying to share or sync with. So you have right now your laptop or your desktop computer, right? And you're signed into Google, which means you're signed into your calendar. So I want you to find your calendar. And then I also want you to take the other device that you want to sync with, whether it's your phone, Android, or iPhone, doesn't matter, or your iPad or other tablet. It's going to be the same. So with an Android, there is a lot of compatibility with Google products. And it used to be that there wasn't with iPhone, but it's not anything to worry about now. So any device that you have, you should be able to sync the devices. All right. So let's worry about syncing the devices to one another so that our calendars can start talking to each other. And then right before we part ways today, I'll show you how to make little differences, little changes to the color coding, which I forgot to do when we were looking at my calendar. So let me not forget to do that. All right, so let's sync. Since I'm not there physically with you, what I want you to do is to sign into your Gmail account. Sign into your Gmail account on the device that you want to sync it to, and make sure that you have access to whatever store you use to download apps. Because remember, on phones and on tablets, you're going to download the Google Calendar app. All right, so if I were to try to do that here, it would look like this. Let me share with you so you can see what I'm talking about. Share, 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 share. All right, so I'm going to go to the Apple Store because I'm on a MacBook. And I'm going to go ahead and search up here in the top left-hand corner, Google Calendar. Okay. And you have quite a few options. Just realize that some of them are designed by Google and some of them are not. So this is called G Calendar for Google Calendar. Let's just pay attention to who makes it. This is GCal. A purchase one is, this is definitely not designed by Google, and you've got a bunch others. Personally, I think we can probably stick to the first one because I don't see, yeah, these are all just separate G Suite. Yeah, these are all, by the way, these will all integrate your calendars. So it really just depends on how crazy you want to go with, you know, your calendar experience, right? And depending on, you know, how much you want to commit to learning something new. So as you can see, I'm scrolling and there are tons of options. And remember, this is all marketing. So because I'm in the Mac or in the Apple Store, this is going to be a desktop app. I'm going to look at iPhone and iPad apps, which is going to change the game a little bit. I can also filter to the free versions, which I like to do. And you can see that now that we've selected iPhone and iPad and free, then that's going to maybe change my selections a little bit. I don't really have one in mind that I would like, but I was really looking for the Gmail one. I don't see it. Let's see if it'll come up. I don't like any of these. Don't like any of them. And by the way, this is part of the process, right? So vetting what you like, what you don't like. Sometimes it's a little bit of a trial and error, right? But it's all part of the tech process, honestly. Don't expect to find just one, you know, thing and, you know, that's the one I need. Sometimes you kind of just think about, you know, what it is that you're trying to get. So let's go with awesome calendar to simple cal. Okay, but this does not help me because I wanted a Google Calendar. Let me try that again. Google Calendar for Mac. And we'll go iPhone and I want free. All right, so the top one seems to be this one. Let's look at Google Calendar. Before I click the yes button, I want to download it. I can click on the thumbnail itself back here. See, I can click on this instead of the get button. I can click on this and it'll show me some screenshots and it'll also tell me what kind of ratings it has, how old it is, but also see it's on the number 20 chart in productivity, which is kind of high. And then it also gave me some screenshots of what it would look like once I download it, which is kind of neat. So I can enlarge this and I can, let's see, or maybe I can't. Yeah, I can enlarge it a little bit. All right, so I can enlarge it a little bit and, you know, kind of get a sense of what it might look like on my machine once I start using it. Essentially, the functionality looks pretty basic. It looks like I have an event, like a task format here, and it's going to integrate with all of my Google stuff. It doesn't look like anything out of the ordinary. Here are some ratings you might want to take a look at. But anyway, G Calendar for Google Calendar is your best choice for when you want to perform operations with your Google Calendar account. All right, so good enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and click it to download it. You choose whichever one you want, but essentially what you're going to do is sign in on that new app. and it should seamlessly integrate from there. So I'm going to stop right there, let y'all play with that and do it. And if anybody has issues with making the switch and doing the integration, let me know. Let me make sure that we're hitting everything we want to hit during this class, because we got about 13 minutes, 12 minutes, and I want to make sure we end on time. I also need to share your homework assignment with you all so that you can earn your badge for Google Calendar and hopefully begin to integrate it in your lives pretty seamlessly. All right, so let me close all this stuff I don't need. Anybody having any issues? I'm gonna let you work on that for the next 2.5 minutes.
When we link our two calendars, will it only take my Apple calendar and put it on my Google? Or is there a way to vice versa, everything that's on my Google put on my Apple?
What's an Apple calendar?
Just the one like on my Apple iPhone.
Okay, so
The one that comes on the phone.
So you're talking about the default calendar app that your iPhone came with?
Exactly.
Got it. All right, so that's the one. I have that one as well. Let me show you. I actually have two. So calendar, let me put it in the middle so you can see it. This is what it looks like, right? I have it in dark mode. Yeah. Okay, so what you do for that is you can, all right, so down at the bottom, oh, this is terrible. Down at the bottom, it says, oh, you gotta be tricky about this. Right here in the middle, it says calendars.
Yep.
See it?
Yep.
All right, so click on that. It's got a little eye next to it. And it should list all the calendars that you have access to. You may not have any, but down at the bottom on the left-hand side, you're going to see add calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And when you click on that, you're going to click on add calendar. And there is where you sign in.
Okay. It's showing that I'm signed in, but let me try to sign out and sign back in again. Thank you.
If you're signed in, then it should appear on this list of all the calendars that you have.
Yep.
And if it is, then all you have to do is check it. Click on the check mark. So it'll integrate it.
Yep, it's checked.
All right. And see if you're able to, I guess, pick up. If they're not different, you may not be able to notice the difference. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I notice the difference because I'm pulling from 1, 2, 3 different email accounts. If you're not pulling from different email accounts, in other words, you're not downloading information from different email account calendars, you won't notice the difference. But everything should be there because you're signed into that one account that you have. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? We can stay here a few more minutes while y'all work that out. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to change the color. So you can glance at my screen. So today's TPF Excellence event is in the cerulean blue because everything for TPF is in cerulean blue, but I can totally change this. As a matter of fact, I can make it any color I want. So if I want to click on a new event, it's going to automatically default to this calendar, but check out what happens when I click on the arrow. I have a bunch of colors to pick from. So I can make this really pretty purple or red or whatever I want to do. So just because I am the originator of the event and it's going to default to my cerulean blue, if for any reason I want to change it, I can. So keep that in mind. And then for your calendars, remember your events can have colors and your calendars can have colors. So remember how I have my other calendars down here? Well, I have pre-selected them to look this way. So I want my other email calendars to be orange, like this one, this particular account, my Doc Maribel, I want it to be orange, but I could change it if I want to. And there it is. I just click on the 3 little dots and I can change it for whatever reason. And the same thing with my company's calendars. So with my company's calendars, right now it's great because I just happen to like it, but I can change it if I want to anytime. Should I go into settings? No, let's not do that. That's enough for today. All right, so there is information about the color switch. Yes, somebody said something.
Yes. Question. When you change the color and you're sharing a calendar, it doesn't change it for the other people, or does it?
No, it doesn't.
Personalized. That's per person, right? Like you
It's
choose
for
your
you.
colors. Okay.
Yeah. And I've seen that because I think this happened recently, and I was seeing somebody else's calendar, like with an event that we had or that I had sent them, and I'm like, that's not supposed to be, that's supposed to be cerulean blue. So it's funny. No, it will automatically assign a color until you only change it on your side. It doesn't mean that it's universal. And the same thing happens in Drive. So when you work in Drive and you can change your color, the color on your folders, it's only for you. So I've seen where if I go into the Drive and somebody else, yeah, it's only for you. Bottom line, it's only for you. So choose the colors that make sense, either because they remind you of your organization's colors, like Carolina for your company, or like your personal, your husband, whatever reminds you of that person. So that way, when you start to look at your calendar on your phone at a glance, oh, I know what this is. You don't even have to read it. Because it can be kind of small. Anyway, that's what works for me. I hope that makes sense for y'all as well. Karen, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I downloaded the app and I got it all moved over. The only thing I can't figure out how to do is how to delete something. Like if I click on, like, let's say today, and it shows, so it goes to this. You probably can't see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, and then like if I wanted to delete, if I hold my finger on it, it doesn't do it. It doesn't delete.
You're trying to delete an event?
Just anything. Like if I want to delete something I put in.
All right, so click on the event, whatever it is.
Like, let's say this, I can always add it later. So if I click on it, it doesn't do anything.
If you haven't set it up yet and it's not saved, you can't delete what hasn't been saved.
Well, it's on, but it's on this part. Oh,
it's on your calendar.
Kara says she's coming over here to show me.
Okay. Maybe I'm not understanding, but for example, I'll show you.
I think I know. Okay.
If I go into my calendar and I click on this event here,
let's say like,
I'm going to click on that. It expands the details. This event actually has just happened, so I'm invited to it. But if I want to get rid of it, I can decline it. Oh boy.
I can
decline it at the bottom, and that will strike it through. But if I want to delete it altogether, then I can click at the top right hand corner, edit. And in the edit menu, it'll have all the way at the bottom, the option to delete the event. But that's because I originated the event.
So I was trying to hold it down and something pop up. That's what my old calendar did. This one, you just literally tap it and then it pops.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
All right. So that was a behavior question, not a functionality question. And it's good for me to know that, because not all devices behave the same way, right? Holding down, tapping, the 2-finger gesture. Tina, did you have a question or a comment?
So I already have my personal Google Calendar on my phone, and I'm trying to get my Patterson one on there, and I added an account, I added my email for Patterson, and then I added my password, but now it says save password or never for this website or not now.
You can save it. It's yours.
For the 2-step verification.
You're still in the sign-in process.
But then I don't know what to do after that.
So once you've signed in, you should be able to authenticate it and then move on. Once it's authenticated, it should be okay.
Okay, and then I can just go up and do switch account.
And if you still have issues, Tina, we can pick it up after we close. I've got 3 minutes and I want to share your homework with you all. And before that, I also want to remind you, by the way, you're going to get all this in an email, so no need to write it down. But I did want to share, so you will be getting a post-class survey, post-workshop survey. So please fill it out. It's really helpful. And it helps us to not only shape what future classes will look like, but your feedback, as you know, as always with TPF, is taken very seriously. So I'd appreciate you finishing that up. And then your homework consists of a scenario. So the scenario is courtesy of Kiara, who designed the homework assignment. And it reads like this. Lately, you've been busy with work, meetings, and friends, and you need help keeping track of everything you've got going on. Next week on Monday, you have a lunch meeting at TPF, 10 a.m. with Kiara, and you have to send her a calendar invite. Wednesday at 3 p.m., you have a doctor's appointment, and on Friday, you need a reminder task to call your internet provider about your bill. Be sure to include an event name, time, and date for each of these events. Once you complete these events and tasks, send a screenshot of them all on your calendar to Kiara Lewis at her email for confirmation and to be awarded your passport sticker. All of these details are going to be captured on the email that will be sent out right after class, where you'll also have access to Google Calendar resources that will help you continue learning and refining what we've talked about today. So I definitely encourage you all to check out the schedule for upcoming classes in our TPF Tech Excellence world. And you can always reach out to one-to-one support. So don't think that you're out there, in the ether on your own. We're happy to continue helping with you. And if I've been particularly helpful, then I want to be able to continue helping you. So you can definitely sign up for one-to-one support with me if that is something you would find beneficial. So with that, I'm going to open it up to one more comment before we close out, right on time. And that'll be all for today. Hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Anybody have any closing comments?
Thank you, Maribel.
Thank you.
For
That was
sure.
great.
Thank you.
Awesome. How fast an hour goes by, right?
Thank you.
I know, there it goes. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening. Keep on learning. Don't be shy. And hopefully we'll get to see you soon. Have a good one.